everybody. Welcome to the Going Analog podcast. I'm your host, Christina, and it is, I'm surprised, we're going to get this in by the end, we're going to record it by the end of 2024, because as a podcast, we have to talk about our top games of the year, right? It's just necessary, or they take away our license or something. We don't have a license.
Content creation content creator obligation.
Right? Yeah. And so to help us with this, of course, we have invited our very good friend, Beneeta Kaur, to tell us about her favorite games of this year, as Shu and I also came up with our favorite top party games, light games, medium games, and heavy games of 2024. So, of course, big disclaimer, we can't play all the games that came out in 2024, but we tried our best. We tried really effing hard. So, we played a ton of games, and we haven't played them all. We are limiting them to hopefully games that came out in 2024 or became available as far as we know in 2024. So you can look them up, and hopefully our listeners can discover some new games through this too.
Yeah, basically we're using, if it says 2024 on Board Game Geek, that's kind of where we started. But then some of them, like there's one of my games, actually BGG says 2023, but it released in North America in 2024.
Yes. Okay.
So it's a little soft there. The other thing too is when we do these with our guests, we have a different guest every year to join us to share this. We don't really have heavy rules about like what qualifies as heavy, what qualifies as medium. Yeah. We're all going to learn about our picks in this show in real time. So later we might be like, wait, you consider that a heavy game? I consider that a medium weight game. That might happen.
That's super light for me. I'm just saying.
Yeah. but that's okay. That's okay.
That's fine. So I'm excited to hear everybody's games. We actually played a lot of games this year with Beneeta, who is a fantastic Twitch streamer. So I wanted to introduce you. And you stream every Wednesday and Friday? Am I right?
So close. I stream every Monday and Wednesday, occasional Fridays at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And yes, I'm very excited to be here. And we were actually talking about it. I feel like we played more games together in 2024 than like ever before, because we were actually at like conventions and like playing games together instead of like... Actually, when you hear my list, you're going to be like, oh, we played this one together. Spoiler alert.
It's always the company that makes the game better. So,
yeah, of course. Obviously.
Okay, so we're going to dive right in. We're going to go first into party games. So we're going to start off, a little bit lighter and get heavier. So favorite party game of the year. I'm going to start with Beneeta. What was yours?
Okay, so this was kind of hard because I feel like there was a lot of good party games, and, I'm going to say, you don't have a category called card games, which I wish you all did, because card games kind of can feel like party games. So I have a few honorable mentions that I want to talk about before I get into my best party game. I got Caution Signs, which is a party game from Danielle Reynolds and Wise Wizard Games. Duck and Cover from Captain Games. And then Kabanga, which is like a card game, but I love playing Kabanga to like 5 to 6 players, so it feels like a party game. But ultimately, my favorite party game was Flip 7 by Eric Olson and The Op. And this is like a blackjack card game where people are constantly busting. You are trying to, you have a dealer, and the dealer gets to play. You are dealing out cards, and the number of cards is like from 1 to 12, and it goes like 1 1, 2 2s, 3 3s, up to 12 12s, and you're just dealing cards out in front of you. And if you ever get 2 cards of the same number, you bust and you don't get to score. So it is a lot of gambling and a lot of push your luck, and it's just so much fun. And this is the game that we played together at Gen Con this year. And
we played a lot of this game.
We
the whole year.
so much of this game. And I consider it a party game because I have played it with like such massive crowds of people, and it's so fun. Everyone I introduce it to, there's always so many laughs. Like I think I have a video of us where like someone's like cursing like each other out because like I remember like Shu kept giving like busting when he was like dealing to me. So
I was busting myself, or I was busting you.
You were busting me. I kept like getting zeros when you were dealing.
Yeah, that game, I love egging people on to draw more cards when they really maybe shouldn't and then they could have won. And I'm just like, someone's like, because you could bank your points, right? And then they're like, okay, no, I want to freeze. And then I'm the one who steps. It's like,
You're only 4 cards away from the bonus.
yeah, because if you could get to
Yeah.
7 cards, you get a 15-point bonus. I'm just like, you're so close. Just think about this.
so
There's a
do it.
couple more.
Yeah.
Just get the 15 points. And then when you can cause it to bust like that, the whole table's just laughing, and they just know that person
Yeah.
made a big mistake and got talked into
My
it.
favorite is also sometimes you never need to egg some people on, like James, our friend James
Yeah.
Hudson. He's going to hit no matter what, so you don't have to egg him on at all. Anyway.
Yeah, and like, there's like cards in there that like second chance that basically gives you like a new life. There's cards that like freeze, meaning like someone else can't play anymore. And there's like, little modifiers that add a little like extra fun to the game. And then there's the teeny bit of strategy is that you are not shuffling cards between every single round. You play out the whole deck. So you can remember like, in previous rounds, almost all of the 12s were dealt out. So like, it's a pretty good chance you're not going to bust on the 12. Now, if your memory is not good, that's not helpful strategy, but it exists. It's something you can think about.
Benita's a card counter. That's how she plays
I am
this
not
game.
a card counter. That's why I almost always bust in flip 7. But yeah,
My favorite
it's just so much
special
fun.
card, though, is the flip 3, because then you can
Yes.
just force it on other people and just make them bust, or they somehow
Or
pull it off.
yourself.
It's amazing.
I often done the flip 3 on myself, especially if it's like in the beginning of the round, because it's a good way to get the 7 cards before anyone else. Yeah.
Pretty sure this is on the top of all of our lists. We're
Yeah.
very close.
What's your winner?
Well, I think my winner was actually Caution Signs, which you mentioned as your runner-up. Yeah, so I've been
Ooh.
playing a lot of Caution Signs, which is a very quick party drawing game, and it's a really simple game. So, as Beneeta mentioned, it was designed by Danielle Reynolds and Scott Brady, and published by Wise Wizard Games, and it's just a ridiculous game. All of the dry erase boards look like yellow caution signs, and so we have a picture here. If you
Or if you
video.
flip it over, it's the UK version of Caution Sign.
Oh, so international.
Oh, I didn't know that's what that was.
Yeah, so,
No idea.
so depending on where you are, where you want to feel like. Actually, also the designer Danielle is like hanging out with me right now. She's like over there.
She's
gonna
in
tell
the
her.
room with you right now?
She's in the general vicinity of the
Oh,
room with
okay.
me. Yes.
Oh, funny.
Do you want me
the
to call her over?
Have her wave, but she won't know what we're talking about.
Give her some random thing on your desk as an award.
Yeah. Here's my Stanley Cup.
There you
Here's
go.
your
There you
award.
So really simple game, barely any rules. You just give everybody a combination of a top card and a bottom card, which will be an adjective and a noun. And it could be something like a light firefighter that you have to draw, or a confused manatee, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But the trick is you only have 20 seconds, and everybody's like, you're crazy. How am I going to draw something in 20 seconds? But then you have to get very creative to get the meaning across without relying on being actually good at art. So it's a great drawing game for people who suck at art, and it's even if you really, really suck at art, it's hilarious for everybody else.
It's so fun. Yeah.
I never say no to playing Caution Signs, so I've really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, did you explain the guesser has to...
Oh, yeah. Sorry. And the points,
yeah.
there are technically points, but really you're just looking at people's drawings. There's one guesser who's not participating in that round, and they have to figure out, well, which of these modifiers and nouns goes with which pictures, but there's 2 extra dummy cards for the top and the bottom cards, so it adds a little bit of confusion, and a lot of times people are standing there like, what the heck is this? Like,
Yeah.
And we discovered our friend Phil doesn't know a roadrunner is a bird, things like that. So it's good times. Good times.
Yeah, that game is so much fun because the best design decision in that game, I think, is not only the dummy cards that get mixed in,
Yeah.
but the 20-second time limit. Because
Yeah.
even a lot of people, they're like, oh, okay, I can manage.
That's
But
easy.
then when the timer actually starts and they're like, time's up, everyone's like, oh my God, I didn't realize that was going to go so fast. And then you just have these mess of drawings or incomplete drawings. And I love drawing games where the drawings are bad, right? We're just put into that situation.
It's really fun. So, pro tip, because 20 seconds is a very short amount of time. If you uncap your marker, and then flip it over, you save yourself like 2 seconds.
Yes, that is what everybody picked up too when we started playing.
Yeah.
Literally the other night we were playing, and then your friend Chris was trying to draw it, and he forgot. He's like, "Oh, I had to uncap. I had to like get my boarded position." And he's like, "I feel like I lost 4 seconds." Which is like
he probably did lose 4 seconds.
And he's a slow uncapper, so that's his fault.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there you go.
And Shu, your
Oh, did you want to do any runners up?
Oh, my runners up was Flip 7. It was my favorite.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So like basically our things were like reversed.
So, funny enough, let me do my runners up first, but I kind of spoiled what I was going to say. So, my runners up, I also have Caution Signs was my runner up. That was my close second. I was actually, like you two, like right up there, like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
It could easily be my number 1. It's the kind of new party game besides my winner that we almost break out with everyone because it's such a crowd pleaser. I also really like this year Contra Banter, which I don't know if this is everyone's game, but it's just basically a game where you have different teams and you get these cards with words and you're trying to sneak these words into conversation with your teammates, and then other people are trying to catch, like that was a kind of a weird use of that word, and then that must be the secret word, and trying to catch what words you're trying to use. That you're using that are your cards.
Okay.
But my winner is also Flip 7.
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I thought I was trying to
Christina's
shake his
like pointing to the box to show it to the camera for
I was
YouTube.
shaking
And
his
then
hand.
I was like, oh, she's shaking my hand for this. So Flip 7, we already talked about it, but it's
love
again...
it. So good.
We played it with like Christina's mom. We played it with kids. Like everyone really understands this game, and then there's just all this excitement, and energy. Even when it's not your turn, you're just watching because you're like, are they gonna bust or not? Or are they gonna make me draw cards and stuff? And it's so simple. Like it takes like a minute to teach. So fantastic game.
I
It's
love
gonna be
that
one
we
we'll be
had
showing
the
to a lot of people.
same best party game of the year, and also like all our like ones were really close. So I have a cool little fact about Flip 7. So if you go buy it in the store right now, it's like an annoyingly like big box for a card game. But I hear next year that they're making the box smaller, which is so much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Currently, that's only like a promo version we got at Gen Con. But it's so convenient when it's the smaller size.
It's so convenient.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours is getting a little ratty, and I'm thinking about like, should I sleeve the card? Because we play it so much that the cards aren't fresh anymore. So I'm like, should I sleeve them and put it into a deck box? I'm like, that's a lot of work for this really simple game. I just buy another copy sometime.
I know it's a pretty inexpensive game, so I would just buy another copy. But wait for it to come into a smaller box. I don't think it's gonna be in a tuck box. I think it's just gonna be in a smaller box because like right now, the box are like this big and it's unnecessary.
And it doesn't. The cards don't store in it very nicely. Versus the tuck box. We quick little story about that. So at Gen Con, the op, just for full disclosure, they gave us this copy of Flip 7. They're like, we hadn't played it before. We're like, all right. And then we started playing. We played it with you and some of our other friends at the show. And then we're like, oh man, this game is fantastic. And they're like, but the retail version will come in this bigger box for shelf presence.
Yeah.
But then when we got home from Gen Con, we saw in the mail, we also got the op separately mailed us a copy of the retail version.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I'm going to take... And then we spilled water on our promotional edition copy at Gen Con.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm switching out the cards. I'm going to take the new cards from the big box, put them into the tuck box, and I'm going to give the old watered-down cards, watered log cards, and the big box to another friend. So I just upgraded our personal copy. Yeah.
I mean, you know what? At least someone's gonna enjoy the game. That's what matters.
Yeah. Moving on, we have our light game of the year. Light game of 2024. We'll start with Shu today. What was your light game? I think I know.
You do?
Because you told people yesterday at our game day.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I have a few runners-up. First one is fishing. This one is a great trick-taking game that also has deck-building elements in it. So a lot of the strategy in this is like, do you want to win cards and get points, but you're also going to take all the crap that everyone's going to throw at you and stuff like that? Or vice versa. So it's like a really fun trick-taking game where you're set of cards get better and better.
Well, yeah, because I feel like it's like
Yeah.
this crazy ramp up because you get seemingly game breaking cards every new round if you had sucked enough in the
Yeah.
previous hand.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
it was really
But
cool.
it's a definitely interesting because depending on number of players, you play an X amount of rounds, and you're like, okay, I want to lose these rounds so I can get cards, but then you have to time it really well. It is
Because you
a
still need points.
because you still need points. It's a very interesting like trick taking game. Like trick taking is not my favorite mechanic, but I actually really enjoyed fishing.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah, shout out to Eric Martin of Board Game Geek for introducing that to us.
He taught
And then-
me that game too. Did
Oh,
he
really?
just?
He was teaching
did he
everybody.
just- Did he destroy you? Because he just like dominated, and like in the last round of the game, he won every single trick and just blew it out of the water. And I'm like, Eric, you just taught everyone this game, and you were so mean.
I don't know for sure, and I don't have the record to prove it, but I think I
And
won.
you said you won the first time,
Yeah.
but the second time he played,
I got
it-
destroyed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You got
he was just
destroyed.
holding
Okay.
back that first time.
So it's just Eric just destroys everyone. with
Yeah,
the
he,
fishing.
he loves showing it to people, but I see
Yeah.
why, because it's such a neat game. My other runner-up is Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. It's a two-player version. If you ever played Seven Wonders Duel, it's the same designer, same format, but a little streamlined. So basically, one player is playing the Hobbits trying to get the ring to Mordor. The other player is Sauron team trying to stop the Hobbits. And there's 3 different ways for victory, and it's just really tight, really exciting. And then I think
So smooth now.
I think it's better than
Yeah.
Seven Wonders Duel.
I'm probably gonna get rid of Seven Wonders Duel. So
So Seven Wonders Duel is like probably like my top 10 game of all time. I haven't played Lord of the Rings yet. I
Ooh.
just got it at PAX, so I haven't had time to play it. I'm pretty positive this would be like my number 1 game of the year. So I'm very excited to try it, but unfortunately haven't played it yet.
It might have won your light game of the year
have.
if you
It might
had
have. It
played
honestly
in time.
would have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this is a really interesting because like. Would I consider Seven Wonders Duel a light game? I feel like it would be like a medium game, but like I think, right?
I do
Like it's an
think-
interesting topic.
yeah, I do think Lord of the Rings version does lighten it. I mean, there's
it
still
does,
a lot
okay.
of decisions,
But
and
not
stuff,
in a
but
bad way.
Not in a
at
bad
all.
way.
Yeah, not
Okay.
a lot of times when they kind of simplify things for a new edition.
It's
I'm
like,
like,
baby and boring.
Yeah.
But I don't get that. From
I think
one,
they
so.
make good decisions
yeah.
here, but yeah. Next runner-up is Open Season, which is a game about collecting different trophies and setting this on your wall, and where you place them will score differently. I really like this game a lot, this drafting game. The Gang, which is
How many runners up do you have, Shu?
This is the one, this category I had the most. Well, I also have a ton for medium.
Me too. There were so many medium weight games.
Yeah.
this
That's my
year.
big runner.
Yeah.
The Gang, which is a cooperative Texas Hold'em game, and then Sears Catalog, which is sort of a trick-taking set. How do you describe games like that? Like Scouts?
Shedding?
Card
shedding
shedding game.
game.
So you're
Yeah.
trying to make
But not
pairs
quite,
or
but yeah.
3 of a kinds and so on and get rid of them, but there's all these different powers that come into play. But my winner is Far Away from Pandasaurus Games.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, I know why. Okay.
What do you mean you know why?
I got
'Cause it's a
confused
cool
with
game?
which category you put this other game into. But anyway.
Yeah, so Far Away, it's a really cool, it's such a unique, different game. It has this really lovely art. I don't even know how to describe this art. It's like with heavy lines, it's really colorful. It looks almost like this otherworldly
very
culture.
surreal,
Yeah.
cartoony, but surreal. Yeah,
And then,
I don't know. It's cool.
But yeah, and it's simple. You're just drafting cards. You're playing cards from left to right. You're going to play 8 cards. It's a very short game. And then how you play them in order will determine whether you get access to other artifacts if you play a number higher than the previous card. And then also, if you play a low number, you get to draft the next card early. But then the second part of the game comes in where now you have to travel this path you just made, this adventure and the storyline you just made. You have to travel it backwards and score the cards backwards. So now you're scoring things from right to left, and things on the left side haven't happened yet. So those symbols and those colors are not available for your combos. So you have to kind of plan ahead of like, I hope I play this card on the left side that's going to benefit from cards I play in a future that I haven't seen yet or I haven't played yet. So it's a bit of you're setting things up. Things aren't going to always work out right.
No.
A lot of people's first
It will
plays,
not
especially.
work out.
Yeah. Especially your first maybe 1 or 2 times playing where you're just like, it's such a strange concept. You're like, ooh, that did not work out anything like I thought. But once you get it, it's just such a neat idea of like, it just is, you've never played anything like this and you have to
It's such a unique scoring system.
Unique,
and then you also have those like sanctuaries. There's these like little map icons where you can get like extra cards that are just going to be on top that will either get you points or symbols. And I definitely like to play the sanctuary game because that helps me with the symbols. Because there's so many times where my first card will be like, you need 4 blue symbols and you'll get 24 points. And the rest of the game, I'm trying to get those 4 blue symbols. And like the amount of times where I get 3 and not 4 because I keep getting like other sanctuary cards, I'm like, come on, I want these 24 points and I don't get them. Far Away is so good.
Yeah, it's balanced so well. So the designer, I think it was Johannes Guppy, he had another game that came out through Pandasaurus too. And Corentin Lebras, I guess.
Yeah, there's 2, yeah.
Yeah, so like what I really like about his design choices is whenever you're drafting cards and making card decisions, there's always like a couple like conflicting goals that you're trying to balance at any moment. So even though it's such a quick little game, you're only playing 8 cards, like, oh, do I make sure I pick something in order to get a sanctuary card, or do I just make sure that I can score this, and there's constantly this decision you're making in a manageable way. And then the first game you play is so weird that everybody's like, we need to do that again. I like totally didn't get it, and it like sort of breaks your brain a little bit, and then your brain comes back better in the second play. So it's great.
Yeah.
But it's not complicated at all. You could totally teach like a less experienced gamer, and then they're like, it's weird, but then they'll get it eventually.
Yeah. And also one thing is like when you're like placing a card to put in your row, it's also how you are drafting cards. Like, so, and if you place a lower number, you're going to get the first pick. So that's like a really interesting balance too, because sometimes you want to play a lower number card because you really want one of the cards to select, but then that doesn't work for the sanctuaries in the sense like it's not a higher number. So I feel like that decision choice, that struggle between like getting another sanctuary card versus like I really need these cards because that's not the symbols I want it's such an interesting choice for this game.
And the art on it, like we talked about, the art is really interesting and fascinating. Like I've seen that artist do several games now for Pandasaurus, and I've like just really into this like quirky vibe they've got. He also did like Codis Naturalis, so Maxime Morin. Really like their art too. So yeah, thing to keep in mind. And what about your light game, Beneeta?
It's Far Away. That's why I had so much to say. As soon as you said it, I'm like, okay, so like, are Shu and I like gaming soulmates this year, or like, because we have the same games? Yeah. Everything we just said about Far Away, I think the way you put cards down and score is so clever. I've never really seen it before in other games, and I just liked it so much. So I don't want to like keep talking about it because we just did for like 10 minutes. I will say my runners up were Harmonies, which is abstract game where and it's beautiful. We just talked about art. Like this Harmonies has such beautiful art in the animal cards. You are building structures. You're trying to get points by building like farms and lakes and different animals, and it's really good. Also Castle Combo, which is a Pandasaurus game where you are building a 3x3 grid. The cards are multi-use. It's a very interesting, like clever system. And then finally River Valley Glassworks, which is you're picking up stones, you're trying to like set collect, and there's like really interesting like sliding mechanism of how you pick up the glass from the river. So I really like that one as well. So all 4 of those games I have played so many times, but like Far Away is like my number 1 for sure.
Yeah, so a lot of overlap from mine. My runners-up were Far Away, for sure, and The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. only recently played it, and I just like couldn't get enough of it. I was like, shoot,
That's
we need to
awesome.
buy our copy like immediately. I played somebody else's, like, why do we not have this already?
Yeah, she's been scolding me for. She's like, "Why don't we have this?" I'm like, "You have access to the same retailers and online stores that I do. I don't know why I'm responsible." But.
Because you played it first and didn't immediately buy it, so that's
I
why
did-
he gets
yeah.
the blame.
That
right?
sounds like it's on you, Shu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
My light game of the year though was Harmonies. So what you mentioned. So I'll pick just to show off the cover for people who are watching on YouTube. The art is so beautiful, like Beneeta was saying. And I think it was our friend Bonds who showed it to me first at a game day. And it's pretty abstract in a lot of ways. It's just sort of like a pattern making game, but it plays so smoothly, and the production of all the pieces and components is so nice. They're really chunky wooden pieces. There's no plastic involved in storing the components, and it's like, it's really just colors that you're putting and building and to represent things like trees and rivers and things like that. But there's all these different ways to score, and it perfectly hits this like itch in my head about like patterns and like spatial puzzle. I like really, really like it. The first time I played, I was like, yeah, I'm into this. I'm not normally into abstract games, but I was like, I do want a copy of this. And I've been teaching it really often and enjoying it every
Yeah,
time.
we played it together at BGGCon too.
Yeah. So,
good.
Yay, Harmonies. That was by Johan Benvenuto and published by Libellude, I think, if I pronounced their name correctly.
Libellude. I don't know.
Yes. Okay, so for medium game of the year, I have several runners-up, and
Why do you get several runners
because
up
you
and I
had like
can't?
10 for the last one. Okay, but I'll go first for this one. So my runners-up were Veil of Eternity. I really like that game. That was originally from a Korean publisher, designed by Eric Hong, published also by Renegade, and it's like really fun comboing as you collect creatures, and this reminds me of like collecting Pokemon to make them score, but then they're like these weird like mythological creatures, and I have a feeling somebody will talk about this more later, so I'm going to leave that at that. And then my other runners up, I really liked Creature Caravan, designed by Ryan Lockett from Red Raven Games this year. Love his art all the time. So fun. Traveling and collecting and building up a caravan of creatures to help you avoid these zombies. But there's this really great system of like being first to score something means that you start a timer on that particular scoring thing, and then now other players only have one more round to be able to score it. So it adds this really interesting tension that I haven't seen in a game before. I also really, really like Let's Go to Japan from Josh Wood and AEG. And we've been playing it for a while because we got an early copy. We went to Japan and like took pictures with the cards at various tourist destinations that matched. And I've just recently replayed it a bunch on BGA, Board Game Arena, and I was like, I still really like this game. It's just a card drafting game. You're trying to plan out a really great trip in Japan between Tokyo and Osaka. So you're trying to like make it efficient to not travel
Kyoto.
Kyoto and Tokyo.
Ooh, good catch.
Thank
good
you.
catch.
We went to Osaka on top of those various cities, and so the art is so adorable. There's artists from like Japanese artists created all of this, and you're trying to like. Then I make everybody tell a little story about their trip after you score it. So lots of card comboing.
And you can see that blog about our travels in Japan on goinganalogshow.com.
I was once talking to Josh, and apparently, like some of the artists, because they hired Japanese artists, they would like go to a ramen restaurant, take pictures, and that they would use that as like a reference. And that's why, like, a lot of
they look so
food
good.
pictures, they look so good.
Makes me hungry all the time.
Right.
And my other final runner-up was Wormspan by Connie Vogelman and Stonemeyer Games. I love dragons because I'm a big nerd. And so it's like...
We all are.
Of course, right? Yeah. I was like, I remember it was announced first like a couple years ago, and I was like, that's a joke. That's an April Fool's joke, right?
Yeah.
We're Wingspan, but with dragons, but it works really well, and it's its own unique game, I think. Definitely inspired by Wingspan, but I really like the extra sort of action point economy of getting coins that's different from Wingspan. But you get all these cute dragons, and the art's so great, and it's like very like watercolored themed dragons. So I really like that.
I like the explore action, like in Wormspan. That's like something unique to Wormspan versus Wingspan. And like also Elizabeth was the developer on Wormspan, so you can see like Connie made it her own, but you can see that like it has the bases in Wingspan. But I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I think I might like Wormspan more than Wingspan. It's very good.
I think I do too.
I do too.
So,
yeah.
Yes, that's why.
Don't tell.
We love having them on our podcast, so now they won't come on. Thanks, Beneeta.
I know.
But,
I'm so sorry.
And then we actually had both of them on to talk about Wormspan last year, so it was a really great episode. So go back and listen. But my winner for this year,
I know what it is.
Yes.
So we have a pile of boxes. If you're watching this on video of like our runners up and winners, because Christina and I don't know each other's winners, but I'm already pulling this up ready for her. I'm like, I
River
know
of Gold,
which I started playing at 11:30 p.m. with you the last night of Gen Con with
But hey,
Beneeta.
we finished it. We just got interrupted just a few times.
A few dozen times, yeah.
The three of us were supposed to play, and then after it was approaching midnight, and I'm like, Christina, our flight's at 6 a.m. Like, we haven't packed. We have a room full of games that we have to figure out how to put into.
But I had promised
suitcases.
Beneeta I would teach it to
Yeah,
her.
and then our hotel was off-site too, not near the convention center. So I'm like, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna get ready.
Shu took one for the team and went to go pack for him and Christina, while Christina and I finished the game.
Christina got to play games while I was like, I'm in the hotel room packing everything.
That's why it's a
packing
great
her
marriage.
crap up.
So it's designed by Keith Piggott and published by Office Dog, and obviously very, very shiny and gold as in the title. And like the theme, I think, is not as exciting as the other games that I've mentioned as my runners-up, but it's just plays so smoothly, and we played so much of it. You are in control of a clan, and there's this. I think it takes place in Rokugan.
I think that's what it's called. Rokugan.
The River of Rokugan.
Yeah, it's this game universe called Rokugan, vaguely Asian inspired, I think. And so there's this big river you're traveling down. So you have some ships traveling down this river. You are in control of a clan, and you're trying to influence the different regions as you trade things and travel down this river. It plays so smoothly, and it gives me that perfect middleweight game where it's Euro-y, you're still making strategy decisions, aiming for certain point objectives, and it's just, I don't know, I've played it so much, even on Board Game Arena and in person, and every time I still really enjoy it, and it plays so quickly. It gives me exactly what I want from a middleweight Euro game within like an hour and a half, depending on the number of players you have. So
yeah, it's great. I remember, and you have objectives you want to fulfill. There's like definitely like an area control type of element on one side of the board as well. And then it's cool because you can build buildings and then you like own them. And so when people come visit the buildings that you've built, you get cool benefits as well. They're called owner rewards, and I love that mechanism. I love that like when people come visit, you also get some stuff.
Yeah. And every time the river builds out so differently, and you have different objectives that are shuffled into different regions. It's been a little while since I've played it, but I just thought back to the year. I was like, this is my perfect middleweight game for the year. So, yeah. What do you think, Shu?
I love River of Gold. That was almost my medium weight game of the year. It got beat out by something else. So that was one of my runners up. I also had Let's Go to Japan was a runner up. Creature Caravan, which I think is my favorite Red Raven game, as I mentioned. I
really need to play it. Okay,
really
it's cool. I'm like, I think this is my favorite Red Raven game. And then I also have Chronologic Paris 1920. Chronologic spelled with a K. So this actually at our game party yesterday, or was that 2 days ago? I played this twice, and I kept wanting to play it because I was like so excited to show all these people. Like, have you played Chronologic? Have you played Chronologic? So I was showing like content creators who are like, this has been on their list to play. I've been showing friends. I showed a game designer. It's like everyone really liked it. So It's
a deduction game?
Logic deduction game. So the idea is it takes place in Paris 1920 in a opera house. There's one opera house with different rooms, like the grand ballroom, the stage, the dance room, the foyer, and stuff. So there's these rooms that are connected, and so you need to know what rooms are adjacent to what rooms. And then everyone has these pieces of paper that show these rooms over 6 hours over the course of the night. The game comes with 3 different scenarios, each scenario with 5 different variations of that scenario. So scenario 1 is you need to find out who killed the detective. Scenario 2 is the Phantom of the Opera, and you need to find out which character was alone every hour of the night in a different room somewhere.
Doing weird alone things.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Weird, inappropriate alone things. Then you know that's the Phantom of the Opera who's like causing problems and causing misfortune and accidents during the night. The third scenario is about this jewelry heist, and you have to try to track where these stolen jewels, anytime 2 people are in a room together, you know person A transferred to person B. Now you have to follow person B until they're in a room together alone with another person. Then they've transferred to person C and so on, and you just have to kind of track this. So you're trying to solve these crimes as detectives, and then what you do is you pick a location like the ballroom, and then you pick either a character. There's 6 characters, so it's kind of vibe like Clue.
It's like a way better Clue is how I always describe
it. There's like the chauffeur.
I did love Clue. I need to try this.
Oh, this is fantastic. So this is like, there's the chauffeur, there's the baroness, there's the adventurer, there's a journalist, and then so you're like, I want to know how many times the journalist was in the ballroom throughout the whole night, the 6 hours. And then you take this card and then this sort of template with cutouts, and then the card has all these different codes and symbols, and then you place it in. What shows through the 2 windows are the pieces of information you get. So you get one piece of information to share with the wider. Well, I'm talking. This is just a runner-up. I'm talking way too much.
You're describing this a lot.
As I start talking, I'm like, I'm kind of talking. Sorry, this is a run. So the short version is, you get a piece of information, and then you start tracking people's movements throughout the night, and then you start mapping it out, and you're like, oh, this person couldn't be here. This person had to be here, and then you start to logic deduct everything.
And so I would say the designers are the same designers of Turing Machine, also.
Yeah.
So you get the same sort of mechanic of this card giving you answers, so that you don't have like individual players messing things up by giving people the wrong information by accident. So, but I think there's like a way better theme. I would probably have called this a light game, but it is a really good game.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I need to try it. So, like, I avoid a lot of logic deduction games because I have PTSD from studying for the LSATs, and that was like the
this
one category. This will heal me. But this theme sounds so interesting, and Clue is one of my favorite games growing up. So, like, this sounds like a lot more fun.
Oh
so
yeah, this game is. This was also a close contender for one of my winners,
as you could tell.
Yeah,
I know. Like, but it's not your winner. So, what is your winner?
I got so excited, it got caught up in that. One more runner-up, Title Blades 2: Rise of the Unfolders. I couldn't
play more of it.
I haven't played enough of it to really know how the campaign plays out, but so far from what I played, I'm like, it's gorgeous cooperative campaign-based game that takes place in a Title Blades universe with this really cool card.
I really like the action selection.
You lay out cards, and when you lay out row 3, you can trigger everything in the row.
Yeah.
But my winner is, so I can finally move on and get to this, is The Veil of Eternity from Renegade Games. So, as Christina mentioned, this was originally a game that came out in Korea. And it's a very simple card game. Like, you lay out a number of cards equal to 2 per player. So if there's 4 players playing, you're going to lay out 8 cards. You're going to snake draft them, and then they all have different costs. So you're like, I'm going to take it into my hand to buy later, or I could sell it immediately. And the different suits have different costs that you would gain this money. Or you can, from your hand, you could pay those costs to lay it down in front of you. Each round 1, you can only have 1 card. Round 3, you can only have 3 cards, and etc. And they all do crazy combos with each other. Like, this might say, for every pink card in your hand, get a point. Or for steal a point every round. Or if there's people ahead of you, take a point. There's all these cards. They just designed this really awesome system where all the cards interact with each other so beautifully. And immediately, like, even if you don't have a lot of experience with these kind of card combo games, you can just read the cards. You're like, oh, if I get that card, like, for example, the last time I played, I had this card that said all of my 1 value stone, which is the currency in this game, are worth +1. And then I got a card that at the end of every turn gained 4 of those stones automatically. And so now what would be also 4 worth of currency for normal players would now is worth 8 for me. And it became really powerful. I didn't win, but it's just really, really cool to like discover these different combos.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing game. And the best thing, it's a weird limitation that makes the game so awesome is you can only have 4 stones on you
Of any
at
denomination,
any time.
and there's no change.
Yeah. So there's stones of value 1, of value 3, and value 6. And so you also have to manage this resource because like you can't just hoard money and buy whatever you want. You're like, I can only hold 4 stones, whether they're 4 6s, 4 1s, or a mix of anything in between. So a lot of it's like some cards will give you points based on what stones you're carrying. Some cards will make certain stones worth more, but you have to be very careful because you can only hold 4. So you're constantly managing this.
The limitation really makes it shine.
Yeah, it's a weird.
And,
it doesn't
like,
sound like it should be fun, but it's like, oh, this makes you think so hard.
And you can get great cards, but you really only have enough room to play a certain number of them too. So you have to be very careful which ones you're going to invest in and play, because otherwise you have to actually spend more money to get rid of old cards that are clogging up your tableau. So there's this really interesting balance.
That sounds really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't played it yet, but
No, it sounds really good. I love like combo-y card games, so it like seems like right up my alley.
Oh yeah,
It's on
you'll love this
BGA,
one.
so we can teach you.
Yeah, it's on board game.
Yeah, we should
Arena.
do a game night. Yeah, I would love to. I love that there's so many games on PGA.
But your medium games, how many runners up? What do we have some overlap?
So there
what
is
is
a
the winner?
fair amount of runners up because I feel like this is this is my sweet spot, like medium games. Like they get played a lot more often. I'm going to tell you what is my medium game, but then talk about my runner up because Christina, you already talked about it. It's River of Gold. That is my medium game of the year.
Yay.
It is fantastic. Like everything Christina said and like what you and I said to add on. It's so clean and elegant. There are like 4 or 5 actions that you can do on a turn. You choose one of them and then you do it. And then it's the next person's turn. And I love it. I love that there's like different parts of the board. You're doing different things. Like you're trying to get objectives. You're trying to do area control in like these like 6 different categories that relate to the die because you're rolling dice and you can either use that number to do this area control thing I talked about or like basically like a roll a move on the river. The game is so pretty. There's like gold embellishment everywhere. The organizer's pretty. Like it's such a elegant, clean game. It plays so fast. Though I did teach this game to my family and I was like, oh, I'll teach this game in 10 minutes because it's like a light game. I'm using quotes. It took like 30 minutes and until the end, my mom was asking me, wait, what's an owner reward again? So, that just reminded me like, oh yeah, I live in a bubble of gamers. And, like for some people, like this is like the heaviest game they've ever played or will ever play. And I need to be a little bit more mindful of that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll teach you all this in 5 minutes. Cause like, I think I could teach this game in 5 minutes because there's not that many rules, but I love River of Gold. It's great. But my other game.
Well, one thing I was going to say that you were mentioning it plays really fast. One clever thing I think this game does is that die you roll determines where you could take it, what action you take, or where you could take the action. You roll that at the end of your turn. So then it gives you.
Think about it.
I don't know why more games don't do this. Yeah, you could think about what you want to do next, but
it's very smart.
Yeah. So it speeds it up. You're not rolling for the first time and then sitting there thinking. So everyone's like, oh, you're always ready to plan your next turn. So it moves so fast for that one reason alone.
Yeah.
It's so clever.
As long as people remember to do that. But yes.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
So my runners up. Let me devote some time to my runners up. Not as much as Shu did.
I got too excited.
So again, medium weight is like my jam. Probably like my favorite like category of games because they get played more often. So I really liked Intarsia, which is a Michael Kiesling game from Pegasus Spiel. And so this game is like the theme is you're making parquet floors. You're renovating a restaurant. But
I demoed it. I remember now. Yeah.
You have beautiful like wooden pieces. It is an abstract game through and through. At the end, you are going to be scoring points for how developed your floor is. You start with like a base, then you have a medium piece, and you have a core piece, and then you add a table to it. And at the end, these are all different points. Like if you built up the whole like section with the table, that's 12 points. Well, if you just have one piece, that's just 1 point. And how are you doing it is by you are, like if you want to build a purple piece, you will give 1 purple card. If you want to build the middle of the purple piece, 2 cards. The core of the purple piece, 3 purple cards. And the table of the purple piece, 4 purple cards. But as you are giving cards, depending on the number of cards, you're getting cards back in different colors so you can plan ahead. So for example, if I'm building the core for purple, I'm going to give 3 purple cards, and there are wilds, and there's like a 2-for-1 exchange rate. But then I get 2 cards back in other colors, so I can start planning for some of the other colors. There's also this like tool table where if you are the first to accomplish like 2 purple pieces with like a core in them, you can get tools, and the tools are like a little set collection points, and you get points on them, and then more points for how many of the same tools you have, and there's 6 different types of tools. It's great. Like I really love it. It's easy to teach. Like I played it for the first time like right after Gen Con, and then I recently played it, and like I skimmed through the rule book, but I'm like, oh yeah, like it came back to me. Like I love games where you can like easily teach it again, and you don't really have to like read all the rules. I really like Windmill Valley from Board and Dice. I think that's like a medium game. I don't think that's heavy. It's like one of Board and Dice's like slightly like medium games. That was good. I like Rebirth from Mighty Boards. It's a Reiner Knizia, and it's so clever. And have either of you played Rebirth?
I keep hearing about it, but we haven't played it, so I don't know if it would have made our list.
Wish list.
Okay, yeah. So it's really good. I also like Spectacular from Chili Fox Games, which is like a dice game. It's a really clever dice and tile laying game. It's very clever. You're building a zoo. We did I like Video Game Champion from Arcane Wonders, which I know, Shu, you like that one, right? We played that together.
I really like that one. That one was quite a surprise for me because it looks kind of garish.
Really didn't like the graphic design of that game.
Yeah, you're like, I remember when we played Beneeta, so you thought the little baby, it looked like a cherub almost.
Yeah.
Like she's like, it's so cute. I'm like, what? This thing looks ridiculous.
And then
but it's a really fun game with a really cool
good.
theme too. Yeah.
And it has like cool components like these like little crystals, and the theme is so cool. It's like you're going to the video store and renting or buying video games, and you're playing them, and you're beating video games. So it's a very like 90s nostalgic theme to it. And then finally, Skyrise from Roxley Games, and that is a very interesting auction bidding game, and you're adding it, and you're like building up your main board. You have the pieces. The pieces are how you auction too, because there's numbers on the back of the pieces. So like depending on that, you can put your piece down, and you can get points along the way. And there's also like on your board, there's like a little bit of a set collection thing going on based on colors. So a lot of different runner-ups, because this was a very hard category for me, but definitely River of Gold, number 1.
Which leaves us, of course, our heavy game of 2024. So I think I'm going to have Beneeta go. I know you just talked, but I think we're going to ask for your runners-up and heavy game of 2024 first.
So let's do runners-up. So runners-up, I have 2 runners-up. I got Endeavor Deep Sea from Burnt Island Games, Kids Table Board Gaming. I really liked the original Endeavor from years ago. Didn't like the theme, so I was very excited when they said they were going to remake it, and they changed it up. And it has a very interesting system where you are exploring the ocean, and you are getting people to like help navigate the ocean for you. There is more theme to that. I'm just not remembering it. And then, you can play cooperative or competitively. I have not played the cooperative version. I think the competitive version is great. But, there's different ways to score it. There's a lot of modularity in it. It's fantastic. Also, Minos is also really good from Board and Dice. Super heavy. I love the different dice placement of it. I would recommend not playing it at 4 unless you want like a 5-hour game of Minos.
Which we did together. Well,
we did play that together. We did play that one together. But both of those games are great. And if anyone wanted to play with me, I would play it in a heartbeat. But my number one game is SETI, which Shu taught me how to play at BGG-Con when it was an excellent rules teach, I gotta say.
Oh, thank you.
So SETI is Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence from CGE, and the designer is Thomas Holek. So SETI is, you are trying to, like, you're searching for alien life, but you're launching probes, you're playing cards, you're trying to communicate with aliens, and I think what SETI does is really interesting. You have all these rules, but then halfway through the game, you're going to start, like, uncovering aliens, and these aliens unlock new rules, and they unlock new cards, and the order of how you unlock could really, like, change up. I just think it's fascinating. It's also a very, like, tight game. The resources are very tight. When I played, I can't do math, and I miscalculated by one resource, one credit. And this game is where there's not equal amount of turns. You keep playing until you pass. And because I had needed one more credit and I couldn't do the thing, and I tried to push my luck by, like, going to the cards, because the cards are multi-use. You can either discard cards for a resource, or you can play the cards by paying the cost. I was trying to, like, get a card that I could discard for a resource. Didn't work out, so I had to pass before everyone else. I was just sitting there and watching people. That was really fun for me. But I know. But I think that proved how much I liked it. But even though I had, like, not the best first play of it, like, I was like, I can't wait to play this again. Also, you know, it is a pretty heavy rules teach. Like, it took, like, almost 30 minutes to learn the game. But I think the rules tied in so well for the theme, which not a lot of heavy games do. I like the theme is not just window dressing in this. It is actually incorporated into the rules, and I think it makes sense. And I really like SETI. And, like, it, as soon as you learn it, you're like, oh, this makes sense. Like, we didn't really need any rules clarifications as we were playing. Because I think it just, like, clicks once you learn how to play. And so, yeah, SETI.
Plus, your teacher was so good.
Yeah,
so
obviously.
good.
Obviously, it has such a good rules teacher.
I remember from the game with you was that you just, like, really hated the how the whole basically the solar system would keep rotating.
Yes, I did hate that because it just wrecks your plans.
And it was like, you know how it's going to spin, but you don't know exactly when and when that's going to trigger. So I just remember Beneeta complaining about that a lot. So I was surprised that that's your game of the year. But I love that game.
I love that game, and I was looking at other heavy games when you asked me to do this, and, you know, there was a lot of heavy games, and out of all of this one, I want to play SETI the most. Okay. I also played Unconscious Minds, and I just I think it was really great, but I feel like the theme and how you're playing didn't tie in as well as SETI, and I'm like, okay, gotta go for SETI.
Mm-hmm.
That solar system rotation thing is it is a little annoying, I think, especially your first time playing, because you're like, I'm sending a satellite to Jupiter, and then it's like, now Jupiter's not where it was when I started off on this plan. But I also like it's going back to,
you can take advantage of it too.
Yeah,
the rotation.
You can take advantage of it, and then so it's again going back to what you said about the theme. It's like, it's really cool because in real life you wouldn't send something in a straight line to where that thing is in space, where it is at the moment. You plan for where it will be by the time your craft gets to that distance.
And sometimes it helps you. Like, at one time on the wheel, I got closer because, like, your probe can move along. I mean, there's, like, a lot of asteroids, which makes it harder to move through. But, hey, if someone moves it, the asteroid field is gone. It got covered up. So it can help. Mostly it hinders, but it can help.
Yeah, but I like that part. I didn't like it at first, and then I grew to really like it, because I'm like, thematically, this is really cool. And once you could start to plan for the rotation, you're like, I'm going to plan for the rotation so that I get there faster than I maybe would have or otherwise. So it will feel a little random, I think, for first-time players. And then once you kind of get to realize all the different ways you can control it, it won't ever 100% be in your control, because other people can rotate the rings as well.
But you know where it's going to be eventually.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, that's my game of the year also for the heavy game for sure. And so my big thing about SETI is I've played it 3 times now, which is almost unheard of for the same heavy game for me. And because
we got it, so you only got it in November.
Yeah.
So we only had a month.
November too. Yeah.
And so what I love about it is the game is so different every single time because of the aliens that come out. And so I think there's 5 or 6.
There's
five
aliens.
total
Yeah.
aliens. And so in my 3 plays, I have seen them all now. And they're so different from each of them because they're randomized. The 2 that you play with each game get randomized. And the different combinations between the 2 really changes things. And then you have like sometimes pick up and deliver missions versus, this particular thing might be like similar to a corruption issue where you have to deal with powerful actions, but maybe you have to pay the price later, So they all play completely differently from each other. And like you said, the big thing for me is just how the theme wraps everything up so nicely. Like I was so surprised the last time I played it had been at least a month between plays, and I was like, oh yeah, this is all coming back to me. Like, well, our friend was reteaching it to some new players, but I was like, oh yeah, I know what everything does. I know how to read the iconography, and it was super fresh again, like really quickly. So
shout out to our friend Brian for teaching us the game in the first
times.
place before I got to teach it.
And then my runner-up that I want to talk about is actually Black Forest, an Uwe Rosenberg
I just
game.
got that at
Yes,
PAX. It's good.
I really like it. I've only played it once, so if I'd played it more, who knows if that might have become my game of the year. But it's basically a redo of Glass Road, a classic Uwe Rosenberg game where you are making glass. Okay, but now I think from what I hear, he had wanted to do this sort of bigger game that involved the region of the Black Forest in Germany, which was known for making glass. But at the time that he made Glass Road, the publisher was like, let's pare it down. Let's really focus on the glass part and not so much the region. But in Black Forest, I think he fulfilled his vision a little bit more, maybe informed by having designed a lot of games in between. And so you still have this crazy rondel resource wheel that sort of shows, as I gather these resources, if I have enough of these components, they will automatically form glass together. Like you'll need sand, you'll need coal, or whatever the different resources are that will make glass. So you have to manage your resources, because if you're not ready to lose the basic resources, you have to time it. So there's that whole resource aspect. But what I really enjoy laid on top of it is how you get your resources and your actions. You're traveling through different villages where you land. You take 2 actions that are adjacent to you. If somebody else is there and you're joining that village, you have to give them a resource. So there is some player interaction where that's pretty rare for an Uwe game, I think, normally.
It is pretty rare.
Yeah, right? And then, but as you're traveling, you do have to feed your people, but in a different way than a normal game. You have to provide this better sort of provision. So you're balancing making glass with making provisions so you can move around. And then there's also this aspect of moving a traveling merchant that will change up the board as you're playing too. So there's these little tweaks that I really, really enjoy about this game, and I can't wait to play it again. So I really want our copy to come in.
I'm not as enamored with Black Forest as other people seem to be. Yeah. But I remember I kind of wish our friend Brian taught it to me.
Oh.
'Cause, we have a friend who teaches a lot of heavy games, and he's excellent teacher and provides all the context. And I'm like, I feel like I didn't know what I was doing for several rounds. I'm just like, it's so random how this stuff's going. And I think I needed someone with more experience to kind of
I'll teach it to you. I'll teach it to you. So yeah, I really like that game, so I can't wait to play that again. And your heavy game, Shu?
So SETI was my winner as well.
Triple match!
Yeah, that's the first one that we all matched on. Yeah, SETI's just amazing. It's a big game. There's a lot going on, but it's just thematically so cool. Like you said, my favorite part is the thing you mentioned, Christine, the aliens. It's so cool that there's 5 different aliens, so which 2 you pick at random will determine different ways that the game will score. But I love that they don't introduce this until maybe halfway through or 2/3 of the way in, because everyone kind of, it's not a cooperative game, but they work cooperatively to unlock the aliens.
Yeah.
And then once they do, it's like, oh, you're reading special instructions, and they have new cards and then new pieces that might change how the game works, right? And then, but it's really smart that they do this a little bit later, so everyone's kind of, you get used to playing the game,
regular gameplay first,
and then it throws a twist in about halfway through. So, and then 2 twists. So I'm really excited. I hope that they will release expansions.
Sounds
I have to,
Yeah.
right? Like just like
if
an
nothing
alien
else,
expansion.
just more alien, like an alien pack of some
Yeah.
sort to add more of that variety.
I don't want more rules. Like I just want more aliens. I don't want any more
exactly,
extra
exactly.
rules.
Yeah. Then the next thing is my runners-up. I also had Minos Dawn of the Bronze Age because I love dice placement games.
Yes.
So that's one of my favorite genres. And then my last runner-up is An Age Contrived. So this is
I
a
haven't played that.
beautifully produced. It's the deluxe collector's edition's overproduced for sure. Look at this. There's so much stuff in here, and it's just a little area control, a little engine building, and you have this sort of like conveyor belt mechanism that will determine what powers you have accessible to you at any time. So it's just a neat, really big, hefty Euro game. It's definitely chonky, it's chunky, it's just and it's really beautiful looking, and it has a lot of systems that aren't necessarily familiar. It's like it's hard to kind of qualify what it is exactly because it does so many different things a little differently. So I really like that game. Oh, did I have something on me?
No.
Oh, I thought Christina was like
so much crossover in this list.
Yes.
Yeah, I think more than our previous guests. So I think we're kind of the same person, Beneeta.
Yeah.
I know.
Just merged together.
I think Shu, the only one we didn't cross over was like our medium game. I think everything else was the same.
Your medium list, your wider runners up list was the most diverse for the mediums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to play more medium games with her. There's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she always makes fun of me because in the past I've somehow made Ark Nova my game of the year twice when it wasn't coming out that year. So just a shout out to Ark Nova because I played it 77 times on Board Game Arena this year. So.
77 times?
Wow.
Wow.
So that's all.
She always finds a way to work Ark Nova into every year for years after it's
My
come
winner
out.
on DGA this year.
77 times?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, don't
Wow.
play her.
I will not play her. You need to go into the World Series, like the World Series of Board Gaming. You need to like enter the Ark Nova tournament.
I keep telling her to do this thing because she plays. Her average is really good. Her win rate.
It's okay. I am not doing like
Oh my
arena
God.
games on BGA yet, so that'll be
you
the
should
next
do
thing.
it.
We'll see.
You should do it.
Okay.
Everyone here knows her win rate is,
Every two people here, other two people here.
and she keeps downplaying it because she doesn't want a big target on her back. But
So thank you so much for joining us, Beneeta. We had so much fun talking about games. We have some more games that we'll play with each other on BGA probably really soon.
Yeah.
Except Ark Nova, you don't have to play with me. And then and thanks for Shu, of course, for providing his games and insight. And thanks to Mike Zipkin, our fantastic editor, for editing this podcast. We hope our listeners found some fun new games they want to go and explore and tell us what your game of the year was. We'd love to hear. And so thanks. Now you can stop listening and go play a game. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.